Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to PauperGeddon 2024, where we're bringing you the Rock Horror MTG event of the year. This is where we brought over 650 players, all battling out in the Pauper format over 2 days, old GP style, until we try and crown ourselves a champion, and they win their fair share of 20,000 euros. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And but we're only in day one. We're only kicking it off. We're going into round number 4 now, so lots more Magic to be played throughout the weekend. Your host of this round, well, it's going to be me. I'm Will Hall, better known on the internet as Will Hall EXP. And today, now joining me in the booth, finally is PauperGeddon, my casting son. We got the father-son duo that everyone's been missing since last time we were in Italy together. But it's going to be great. You're going to carry me through this because we got some spicy decks set down in that feature match. Are you ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Like one of them that you were trying to explain to me what it is this this tribe deck. Tribe combo is one of the ones we're going to see in the feature match this round.
Yeah, it's basically the name is Tribe Combo. It's one of the spiciest deck in the format. I think
Love spice.
For this Geddon combo decks were really well positioned, and this deck is basically a Splinter Twin deck because only needs two pieces to work. The first one is the Tribe, that is a 1-drop that when you discard a card, it gets +0/+4. And the other one is Inside Out, an instant that basically switches power and Thugness. So if you have enough cards in hand, you can grow the Thugness of the creature until it's 120 and then switch it and attack for a little.
So you need 5 cards in your hand. Discard 5 cards, flip it, done, big one-hitter.
Yes, and but there is a card that called Whiteout. Basically, you can sacrifice a snow land to return it to your hand. So you can basically just discard it and return it in enough amount of time to kill your opponent.
And that's going to go against like one of the more popular decks, I'd say, in the format. Like a lot of people are gravitating towards because of some of the new MH3 cards that have been printed, which we'll be speaking about, I'm sure, throughout this game. But it's going to be the Grixis Affinity list. What does that deck do? Why are we seeing that so popular at the minute?
Well, we have to start by saying that Affinity won basically all the previous Geddons, and a lot of friends talking with them, they say, yeah, but today I want to play the most broken deck, and I think it's Affinity because it received 2 of the best cards from MH3 that are the new Familiar. And
Refurbished Familiar, the 4-mana Affinity 2/1 ETB, discard a card. If you don't discard any cards, you draw a card.
Yeah, and Sneaky Snacker. So a card for the early game and a card for the late game.
Sneaky Snacker is a great card to say out loud on coverage, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know you. I'm being told that the match is ready to go, so let's head down to it right now and let's kick off this round number 4 here at PauperGeddon. Is play draw dependent in this matchup? I imagine if I'm the combo deck, I've got to be on the play, get in underneath my opponent and try and get that big one shot. I can't really sit back for go to the mid to late game because they would just have too many answers for my creatures.
Yes, but I think it's not super dependent. I think Affinity really want to start because he's the aggro deck in the format, while the combo deck can just kill your opponent in 2 turns.
Are there any ways that we can kill if I throw a Galvanic Blast at the creature, is there anything that can be done in response? Is there any protection spells or counter magic or...
Yeah, I think you can start by growing its darkness.
So discard a card, give it the +4, +0/+4.
So you have
what if I have like a cast down? So let's get a direct destroy creature spell.
I think the deck plays 4 Dispel, 3 counter spell with Madness. So Madness,
sweet.
Yeah, and a mixture of protections. I'm not sure by how many, but from the main and the side it should be 4 more protections.
Well, we'll find out as we're off to the races here. So turn 1 Ponder on one side, but on the other side, 2nd Artifact Land into Spellbomb, into the Refurbished Familiar, one of the cards from MH3 that we were speaking about. It's a 4-drop, but it's already on the battlefield, and we've already cast another spell that's going to be good in this matchup. Right? There's a card that you were saying that comes back from the graveyard. Well, we've got the answer to it now. So that's one almost lockdown piece. So potentially we can just get in there in the air and keep turn sideways. It's going to be interesting to see if this deck's going to be able to, the combo deck can fight through it. Obviously, coming this weekend, you knew you'd be up against Affinity at some point, especially over a 2-day tournament like PauperGeddon. So they got to have a good plan. They got to know what they're doing. You wouldn't bring this if you thought it was a bad matchup against Affinity.
Yeah, I think the matchup is quite right. The only card that's problematic is Chronicle Shaman because you can continuously gives the creature minus, basically deal 1 damage to the creature. So when you are comboing out, it's really tough to beat the Shaman. But the tribe combo deck, since it works with the graveyard, plays some copy of prismatic strands. It means that you can just start by protecting your creature from red and then go off.
My word, look at this board here from the Grixis control side. Another familiar, then into the Shaman itself, and Shaman with a bunch of artifacts. Well, we can just take that off. So are we kind of safe right now? Like, what would it take for us to be able to combo through this board state currently? We've got a graveyard hate piece, plus we've got a main deck board sweeper that's going on, and we're able to apply loads of pressure that we're seeing here.
Well, I think you need to deal with the Shaman somehow. And then once you dealt with the Shaman, you can just give the creature unblockable with the Wedding Invitation, and then just kill them. Okay,
well, good and bad news. There is no main deck ways of getting that Shaman off the battlefield except for having it activate and actually killing itself.
Yep.
That means it sounds like almost unwinnable at that point. Like you can't. Oh my word! The third familiar coming down, discarding another card on ETB. Spell Pierce is going to be the card. Another this game's got to be like. Can we win from this spot? It doesn't. Like to me right now, bear in mind, I'm very new to Pauper. I'm picking it up. I love this format. I think it's great. I think it's very balanced. Right now, it doesn't look very balanced. It looks absolutely one-sided, and that is because that MH3 card, Cauldron Familiar, not Cauldron Familiar, Refurbished Familiar.
Yeah,
Cauldron Familiar is a completely different card that's not in this format.
I think unless the Grixis Affinity player mess up somehow, it's really tough.
Forget to turn everything sideways. As long as they forget that they've got a combat step, they should be good here.
Yeah, but also it's nice that the familiar reduced the cards in hand from the tribe combo player, so it's even more tough to basically combo, because you need a lot of cards. You need at least 5 to deal 20.
The Clan Shaman as well, just to really kick someone in the teeth, doesn't do damage to flying creatures. So all of our familiars they're safe as well. And that is going to be enough for game one. That was over extremely quickly. A lot of hate pieces there. Maybe they were expecting on their side that there's going to be quite a lot of combo decks going off, and having main deck like Clan Shamans.
Yep.
It's not something you see very often. Like normally that is a sideboard card, but we're moving that into the main here. Even just a spell bomb, is that like a main deckable card at the minute with the current meta, or is that just a really good meta game choice?
I think it's a mixture of both. It's an artifact that when you sacrifice it, you draw a card, so it's quite free when you play 6 disputes. But it's also a relevant card in combo matchups that are the ones where Affinity doesn't shine. Same for Clan Shaman. It's a quite free card, and I think Shaman is more for Red Green Ponza. Because our Red Green Ponza try to kill you with big creatures, but doesn't have any flyers. So your plan should be stack an amount of flyer, and then play the Shaman, sacrifice all your artifacts, and kill them in 2 turns.
Completely wrath the board, but all your stuff stays alive. Keep turning the same thing. So chat pointing out, yes, Cauldron Familiar is legal in this format. It doesn't see play in this format as well. I should have said chat. Okay, we don't have the oven cat combo going on in this format just yet. It hasn't had a downgrade from uncommon to common. But who knows?
Hopefully not.
Worse things have happened in Magic, so to speak. So going to the sideboard, let's have a little look at some of the cards that we might be seeing coming in. So we've got Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blasts, Blue Elemental Blast, Hydro Blasts, Negates, and Gorilla Shamans. Don't think many of these are going to be very good in the Grixis side. But anything you think you should be bringing in? Maybe the Negates?
I would bring both Hydro and Pyroblasts, because they both... old D8 Blast, I would bring in all of them.
All of them?
Yes, because they all counter the piece of the combo that switch power and toughness. Because it's a white-blue card.
But would you bring all 8 in? Are you really that scared of it? Are you willing to dilute your game plan of your deck enough? Because that card will just stonewall this deck. Is it that powerful in this matchup?
I think so, because the other deck is an all-in combo deck. It doesn't have any other plan. So once you can keep the combo in check with the 2 protections, you can just at some point play an Enforcer and attack 6 times.
Right, well, on the other side, we've got a bunch of Dispels in the sideboard. It looks like the 4/4 copy, so there wasn't going to be any in the main. Then we've got, Hydro Blasts, Piracy Charms, what's this prevention one called again?
Prismatic Strands.
Prismatic Strands, thank you. 1 mountain in the board. I don't know if this is actually lined out correct. Maybe there isn't 1 mountain in the board, but maybe there is. Some more protection spells and some more, flanking palm. anything here good in this match?
I think I would just bring in Lawrence Escape and that's kind of it. You can maybe board in a couple of Blue Elemental Blast, but that's kind of it.
That doesn't seem great. Bear in mind, if the game one looks so one-sided, you'd almost think, okay, right, if I think this is a bad matchup, I'm going to have a bunch of cards in my sideboard in case I do play against Affinity, because you feel like you're going to play against Affinity at some point in this tournament, especially if you have a deep run in it. You need to have a good game plan for it. Maybe just the game one's meant to be really good. I mean, we just saw them have it all. It was really one-sided, or is it literally you just accept this is my bad matchup? I'll take it on the chin. I'll try my best, but realistically, this isn't the one I came here to beat. I came here to try and beat Ponzo, trying to try and beat some of the other slower mid-range decks in the format.
I think the matchup is not that lopsided, but that Affinity start was incredible. But I think that one of the not great thing about Affinity is that your game plan is not repetitive. So sometimes you start with a very aggressive draws. Some other times you just do turn 2 Ichor Wellspring, turn 3 Dispute, turn 4 the Ichor, and you do nothing for a lot of turns. So I think everyone agrees that Affinity is a control deck. Nowadays, with all those flyers, the deck list shifted a bit to more of a mid-range and sometimes aggro, as we saw.
Yeah, that was explosive. Those familiars basically showing how good that card is. Just being able to have a 2/1 on the battlefield, which is casting for 1 mana. Your opponent discards a card, and if they don't have any cards, then you get to draw cards. So it's always going to be a 2/1. No matter what, that card is always a 2/1. And the later the game goes, when we start bringing them back out of our graveyard and recasting them, and some other decks in the format use it to just bounce it back. Obviously, we saw Gavin Verhey a couple rounds ago doing that. That's the reason why we splash them black, so we can bounce the familiars and replay them in the same turns, getting more value that way. It's a really cool card to see, and it's good to see. Seeing a lot of Pauper play.
Yeah.
And we're off to the races. So it isn't free to be able to play 3 colors in Pauper. There is no fetch lands, there is no shock lands, there is no quick mana, so to speak. We do have to rely on these tapped dual lands. Obviously, the Affinity ones are the ones that are of choice right now because that's the name of the game of the deck. Now here's my question: how quick can this deck win? This combo deck.
You can either win on turn 2 sometimes.
Oh, okay. So if you go at turn 1, turn 2, you can. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to be going into game turn 3. If this lives, maybe we'll end up seeing it fire off and go into a game number 3 out of these 2 players. Of course, 3-0. The record you're going to need to get into day 2 is 15 points. So that's 5-2, or work it out with draws, however you want to do it. But basically, X and 2 will lock you into day number 2, where we'll be coming back tomorrow for 5 more rounds of Swiss before we cut to that top 8 and crown ourselves a champion of PauperGeddon 2024.
So because you see the fetch land that is in the graveyard. That's actually a very smart choice of play, because this is not only a fetch land but also a way to give your creature unblockable.
Yeah. So
that was probably the biggest upgrade the deck received in a while, and I think that's a valid reason to play it. But I think now if Trivella finds the missing combo piece, he can win a spot.
So Shaman was played, that ended up eating a Hydro Blast, so it doesn't hit the battlefield. So then we're kind of safe to that. So what is the card we're looking off the top of our deck right now? What are we hoping to hit there to win the game?
Inside Out, I think.
Inside Out. Well, there's a blue land for the turn and just passing it back, so we don't have the combo just yet. Going 1 card deeper in a deck, Grixis Affinity, definitely off to a slower start here, but this is one of the powers of this deck, right? Having an untapped artifact land, which in an Affinity deck basically represents 2 mana. Everything is an ancient tune that doesn't do damage to you.
Yep.
It's going to be pretty huge. But we're just passing the turn. We're holding up. What are we holding up here? Are we holding up counter magic, removal magic? What's going on? What would you be playing around in this spot?
That's the tough part from tribe side, because Affinity can play basically whatever. You can have Pyroblast, Hydroblast cast down, nothing maybe. So it's really tough for a combo deck to understand when to go for it and when to wait.
Here comes the Archaeologist. That's going to mean that we're going to fire off this cast down. Now, this is the cast spell that you discard, right? And it's like a mana leak effect. All the cards in your graveyard, you've got a minimum. And that's going to eat the red Pyroblast on the other side. So by the time everything's done and dusted, the tribe goes to the graveyard. Now we've got to kind of try and rebuild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also interesting. Fallacious Archaeologist is not a common card in Tribe, But I think it's smart because the format plays some edicts, so you can just use it as a 2-mana ponder and then sacrifice it later.
Well, we got to start digging. We got to rebuild here. So when we did pass the turn with those 3 mana up, having kill spell plus counter magic was exactly what we needed to get Tribe off the battlefield. So we've got to now find one. Then we've got to play it. Then we've got to try and keep it alive. And then maybe we can start putting this combo off. But over on the Grixis side, now going up to 4 cards. Really looking for one of their engines to really pull away on this matchup here. There's one of them. This is not an engine. This is a good way of being able to shoot lots of 1/1s off the battlefield or 1 toughness creatures. 4 damage coming across from this Enforcer. That's going to get blocked.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, like we saw the aggro start of Affinity, and now we are seeing basically a control deck. Like
what's that 4-drop that we just saw there?
Deep Analysis. So draw 2 cards.
Oh, it's the yeah. I haven't seen that art before, that one.
But that's in Modern now.
If I say just printed in Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah.
Is that must be the OGR of it or something?
Yeah.
Is it coming? Oh no, it looks like it's been
From
printed
Tempest,
a lot.
I think, or Torment. Cool one.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
and,
like I've got all these lands. I'm going to do this damage. I'm going to sacrifice my lands. I'm going to do 1 point of damage for each one as well as my creature. That was an extremely quick match of Magic.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can find another match and get it in the feature match area as I look over at my producer right now. Do you reckon we can get another match? Okay, we're going to look into that. So while we do that, we'll cut. Everyone's running off to try and find matchups because that was over extremely quickly. So when we do that, we'll come back to the booth and then we'll have a little chit chat. We've got actually a graphic of the meta that everybody, so 656 players all bringing whatever decks they thought would be best to take down PauperGeddon in 2024. Well, we've got it in a graph for you all. So let's get it up on the screen and let's talk through this while we've got a little bit of time. So starting. The most played deck right now. Crazy deck right now, really popular in the format. I'm joking. You smart, come on, it's last. Grixis Affinity, most played deck in the room.
Yeah.
No shock there, right? It kind of does what it says on the tin. And we've just seen why. It looked absolutely phenomenal in there and have a couple of main sideboard cards in the main, depending on the meta. And it looked absolutely outstanding. I think that's, to me, one of the more powerful decks I've seen in Pauper, just in general.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the old Jund,
Old
it's the
Jund,
deck
okay.
that always works. You play broken cards now, so it's the most confident choice joining a tournament.
All right, next up, Ponza. So I'm on a little mission at the minute to call it not Ponza because I don't think it is Ponza anymore. There's not much land destruction floating around it. They kind of replaced it with a lot of these big Eldrazi spells. So Ponza, red, green Eldrazi, but it's going up the ranks.
Yep.
Because of Chrysalis, right? Chrysalis is just such an absolute house at the minute. The 4-drop for Modern Horizons 3 makes the 2 Scions. When you sack your Scions, that also grows bigger. So not only are you growing a big fatty, you're also having some spawns. So next turn you can potentially cast your 7-mana Cascaders, and it's ramping you while adding to the battlefield. And maybe that's why we're seeing a big uptick in Ponza. What do you think about it?
Yeah. So basically, like Chrysalis was the best card because I think the problem of Ponza is always that you are a bit you're not very good versus aggro decks. Okay. While you can basically play this creature that creates 2 more creatures on turn 3, and that's great. Also, I think one of the main reasons to play Ponza nowadays is the matchup versus Affinity is very, very good. Like I playtested the Affinity side a lot with my teammates, and the matchup was atrocious. To win, you really need to hit a lot of things, while Ponza can just play a random game plan. And even if Affinity board wipe you with Clan, you can still draw a Cascader and start the loop again.
Why is it so good for Ponza? What cards are the key cards in it to make it really good against the Affinity list?
Because in the side, you play a lot of artifact destruction. So you can keep your opponent mana busy while you develop. Okay. And in the main, you already play a lot of blockers and your creatures outside your opponent's creature. Because Affinity plays 4/4s and now the 2/1s flyer. While you play Chrysalis, that is a 4/5 reach. You play the Pirate, you play the other dinosaur with Cascade, etc. So all your creatures are big and your clock is actually fast. So, like if you only play Galvanic Blast in Affinity, you have 0 way to deal to kill your opponent creature.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, next up is Red Black Madness. Now, I was not expecting. I know this would be turning up this weekend. I don't know it would be like the aggro deck of choice basically for this weekend. 54 players turned up on that. What do we think about the Rakdos Madness deck?
I like it. I think when people talk about this deck, they say it's broken or they say it's bad. I think it kind of depends. Sneaky Snacker was actually a very strong card because I think the previous version of the deck were really aggressive, but at some point they needed a way to close out the games. While now with Snacker, you have a way to basically deal the last point of damage, because with looting, etc., you can flashback a looting, return the fairies, and keep going. So I like the deck. Also, I think it's a smart choice for such a long tournament, because people are usually not prepared to face an aggro deck, because of course the two contenders of the format are Affinity and Ponza. And I think you kind of have a good matchup versus both, if you're lucky, as always. And in general, it has a good matchup versus the other aggressive decks, because you play Alms of the Vein that gains you life back. So I think it's a smart choice.
Well, talking about aggro decks, next one we got up, the fourth most played deck is like the mono red aggro decks. We see them very popular on Magic Online, because really you want to try and get 5 games under your belt as quick as you possibly can, so you can get back into another league. So it's very popular online. Now coming into this weekend, fourth most popular deck. It's really explosive, right? And it can also take advantage of all the decks playing free colors, all the lands coming in to play tapped, playing a little bit of a slower game. So really trying to prey on those decks and get the Ws. What are you thinking about that? Good choice this weekend?
I never think Mono Red is a good choice unless like when Monastery was legal, yes, because I think every sideboard in Pauper always start with 4 Hydroblast, so you always have a tough time beating those deck. And nowadays, like Cool Dota has only the possibility to be explosive, because you don't have a good way to sit back and wait. So you either draw Cool Dota and a Bushwalker a lot of the times, otherwise your deck is not great, especially now because if you used to have a good matchup versus Pawns, of course, but now when they can just go Chrysalis on turn 3, make 2 more blockers, it's really tough to develop your game plan.
Okay, I've lost the graphics, so let me just get it up on mine. We're trying to get what was that next deck? Azorius Blade was the next deck. So we got 32 copies of that. What are you thinking about that one? That's what Gavin was playing yesterday. Wasn't too much of a fan of it.
I don't know. I personally, of course, if people doesn't know me, I'm a blue-red mage. So playing
you're a caster right now. You can't be biased. You can't be biased. Poison Storm. You can't be biased. You can't be biased.
Yeah. So okay. So about the white black, I think it's a good deck, but it's quite. I don't know. The problem is often you don't deal enough pressure to kill your opponent, and if you see a lot of familiar, the deck is great. If you don't see them, the deck is medium, because your creatures are 1/2s and 2/2s. So I don't think it's just a very, very fair deck. I wouldn't play that deck personally.
All right, what about Jesco Ephemerate? So another 3-color deck using Ephemerate. Obviously, that we know how powerful that card can be in other formats. Utilizing it here in these decks, trying to get double up on our ETB effects. What do you think of that deck?
Well, I think the deck. I'm usually a hater of the deck, because I think it's low, and playing a control deck with a lot of tap lands and artifact lands is not great. But actually for this tournament it was, I think, nice, because versus Ponza you have the undestructible lands, so you are not, at least game 1 you should be fine, and also you have a way to ramp. So the first plan of Ponza is debunked, and to deal with creatures, you still have Scrads, Trap and Charm, and other things that should help you killing the monsters. Also, I think Jeskai has a good matchup versus Affinity, especially in the sideboard. But
why is that? What have they got on the sideboard?
Well, I think Casting to Fire Scam, and also you have loops. That Affinity is a deck that tries to go long, but if you can loop Archeomancer, etc., you always get a flow of cards and removals. Also, a note is you play Cleansing Wildfire, and Affinity plays 0 basics usually.
Yeah. So it's like it's just literally a 2-mana Stone Rain half the time.
That draws a card.
That also draws you a card. Yeah. And look, Blue Mage coming out of you there.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to draw cards. More and more cards. Okay, we got you. What else have I got next? We have got Wolves combo. Okay, so we saw that come second yesterday in the top Pauper Player League. We saw it earlier on when Gavin was up against it. Gavin was able to take it down. Very interesting deck, especially if you feel like there's an aggro-heavy meta. That seems like a good one to bring because you literally put up walls so they can't do damage to you.
Yeah, I think it's a smart choice. It's a deck that plays, like in general, playing combo decks when the top decks are Affinity and Ponza is a smart choice because both decks doesn't interact a lot. So I like the wall possibility. The only problem is the deck is a bit tough to play because it requires a lot of skill.
It's like Amulet Titan.
Yeah.
The more reps you put in with, the better you're going to be. The quicker and faster and more complex lines you'll be able to pull out of the bag.
Yes, and also like it sounds more of a meta call than a nice call.
Okay.
So if you take the wrong decks in the beginning of the tournament when everyone is playing whatever, it's your tournament might end on round 2.
Sweet. Well, I'm being told in my ears that we've managed to pull the table across into our feature match here. So let's get down to it. Let's have a little look who we've got and what decks they are playing. It looks like Glee combo versus Boros Synthesizer. So Boros Synthesizer, we've seen how much resilience that can do, how much like turning and burning for the deck, generating a little bit of value every single time we get one of our bounce cards going, so to speak. So we can add a load of flyers to the battlefield, turn them sideways while adding a load of advantage to us. Glee combo, talk to me about that one.
So it's basically the combo revolves around the new card that is 2 mana Eldrazi that when it gets a +1/+1 counter, you create a 0/1 spawn and you can adapt it for 2. So adapt means you put a counter. And the other card, the other Splinter Twin card is Sadistic Glee. That is an enchantment that says when a creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on the enchanted creatures. So since the spawn can sacrifice themselves to create a colorless mana, you buff your creature by any amount. We don't say infinite, but and you also create, let's say infinite this time, an infinite amount of colorless mana. And this means you can use some creatures or makeshift munition works. It depends on the colors, but there are a lot of ways you can abuse infinite colorless mana, of course.
So once I've got my massive creature, do I have to be able to have it unblocked to do the full combo hitting, doing 20 damage, let's say? Or is there a way for me to fling it to their face?
I guess it depends. Like there are a lot of versions. Of course, the deck is quite new, so people are testing whatever. But I saw really a lot of different options. I see people that want to go infinite life with like a Soul Sister. I see people that wants to burn opponents down. I was playing the deck yesterday. I was playing a John version. I was playing makeshift munitions, so shoot infinite. And so it really depends. It seems like Mancinelli is playing John. So it should be munition, the win condition.
Okay, cool. We'll find out as we go. Looks like we're having mulligans on both sides here. Is this a deck that kind of has to mulligan a lot? Is it really key on the combo as in I need X, Y, and Z to be able to combo? Or does it have like a more mid-range grainy strategy that has a combo finish if need be?
Well, it might be me, but I think like the version I was playing yesterday, it was very mid-range. So since you have a lot of powerful turn 2 plays, like Cleansing Wildfire on your lands, since you play Artifact lands, or you play Malevolent Rumble, that is the new steerings that creates a 0/1, but you also play Dispute and basically the acceleration of Affinity. So you play Chromatic Star and Ichor Wellspring. It's usually, I don't mulligan too much.
Well, looks like we're going to mulligan down to 6 here and a game down. Just starting off with one of those Infinity lands that we're talking about here, Artifact land. That's the red-green version. So yeah, Jund is kind of what you called it.
Yeah, I played this matchup exactly versus Gavin yesterday night in the hall of my hotel, and it destroyed me because like he was always able to deal with my creature, and I think the new Chrysalis plays a great role in the matchup because it's a flyer, so it outsides your opponent flyers. But like the problem of Boros Synth is they play really a lot of bolts. So at some point, like Gavin just pass the turns and shoot me 13 damage.
Yeah, like they get a little bit of chip damage in, and when you're low enough, they instead of going like your creatures, just start throwing it all up to your faces. We're going to see Cast in Fire here using the Exile ability, of course, powerful card from the Lord of the Rings set that came out. That's going to hit the land on the other side, so no more green mana for you. Also, no more red mana until we're able to play our third land of the game, but it will come into play tapped. As we get Luminous come down, it should be called Luminous Bread. And I will fight everybody that thinks that's wrong. I am a die-hard Lord of the Ringser. It is Luminous Bread, but now we've seen the value of it. So ATB draws a card. Now we play the Griffin Hawk, and it's going to bounce it back to our hand. So now we can recast it next turn, draw more cards, and we're just incrementally gaining value, just like on this Ichor Wellspring on the other side.
Yeah, but the bad thing is, like, if Marcinelli was drawing like a forest, he could combo the opponent off.
Oh, and what? Literally this turn?
Yeah.
Combo off.
You need 3 mana, 2 pieces, and an Eldrazi to start, or a creature you can sacrifice to start.
Okay.
So, like, especially in this tournament where people don't know the decks well, a lot of people just tap out and die to the combo. So it's an interesting choice. I think playing Glee combo is smart.
Do you think that the advantage of turning up to a tournament with a deck that nobody's really seen and don't understand what it is, that as in they don't know when they can tap out, they don't know what they need to kill, they don't know what they need to take with the hand disruption, etc. Is that like a really huge, like let's say an extra 15 percentage points to win the match purely on that alone because you picked a deck that has got like a good choice in the meta right now? Like if we got the Pro Tour next weekend, if someone turns up with a completely new modern deck and no one's really looked at it or seen it and they're like, whoa, this is coming out of nowhere, what do we do against it? I'm thinking back to like Pro Tour Born of the Gods where Blue Moon turned up and everyone was like, whoa, this hits our lands and it bounces things and we don't know how to fight against it, and it did really, really well. Is this one of those decks that it's going to turn up and the surprise factor of it being here is going to gain it more value than the actual combo itself, or is the combo that itself so strong that it will be able to fight through?
I think a mixture of both. I think especially for Pauper tournaments where there aren't much data and people also treat this tournament as more friendly. Like there aren't many grinders like at the Pro Tour where they scrabble up magical line list and try to get all the information possible. I think a lot of people just want to play and have fun. So playing such a combo deck is probably smart. But also, I think the deck I played yesterday, that seems the same list Mancinelli is playing, it felt really, really strong. Like, each time I was playing, my game plan seems so much more stronger than anything my opponent was doing. Like, it seems I was playing standard or something else.
It's always good when that happens, when you feel like, I'm playing Legacy against a modern deck or something vice versa. You're like, okay, this seems broken what I'm doing. And that only really happens when you find a new deck, right? Like when you find just a new deck and no one's really worked out and you're like, well, this actually works really good and it pans out really well in the meta. And hopefully we get to see it now, but we are short of green mana. Do have an hour star on the battlefield, so can cycle that and add a green floating if we need to next turn. But at the minute, all the hate is flowing. We've got the Cast into the Fire here. We've got, I can't remember what this exile effect is, but lots of exile effects which can target lands getting fired off from this Boris Synthesizer side. And now we're going to get in there for 2 points of damage. And this is what it does. It's a little bit of disruption, gets from the board early, generates the value it needs, and then eventually just ends up winning the game by foot bear on the throat. Revoke existence. Thank you very much, chat. Chat is so smart all the time, like all the time. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all being here as well. Obviously, we are bringing you. This is day number 2. Yesterday we had the top Pauper player event, and then today we kicked off PauperGeddon 2024. 7 rounds today. We're closing out the day with a Pauper panel with the 3 people we've got here. We're going to be able to ask them all sorts of different questions. So if you've got any questions for the Pauper panel, let me know, because then I'll be able to put it to them later on after round number 7 today. And then we'll be coming back tomorrow for 5 more rounds of Swiss before we cut to that top 8 and crown ourselves a champion. Which deck won yesterday? Gates.
Gates.
The thing is, Gates
yeah.
is a toothpaste in the UK. So it's a really popular toothpaste in the UK. So it's really weird when I'm like, and Gates takes it down. I'm like, okay. And Colgate made a great smile.
Well, we say Colgate in Italy.
Oh yeah, I'm not even going to try murdering that there. That's not me. So it looks like we floated a bit of green mana, but it didn't really come to any effect there. No, we're not able to get any more of our combo pieces down.
But it looks like the Boros deck just tapped out. So it might be that now we see the combo occur.
But if we've got a blocker, how does the combo work? Or are we now seeing it here? Okay, here comes some a garden. It's going to generate a 0/1 plant.
So I think Cast into Fire plus Revoke just took care of green mana, the possibility of getting green from Mancinelli. That is very smart.
Big draw step, 4 mana open. Got a 5th land drop for the turn if we need to. We're going to start off by bouncing one of these synthesizers back to our hand. And this is the power of it, right? Every time it leaves the battlefield, it doesn't have to go to the graveyard, etc. It just has to leave the battlefield. So bouncing it back to your hand, this is where we're going to be generating the value. Because now if we recast it, well, the same trigger is going to happen. And we can keep doing that over and over. We're going to incrementally make a lot of value. And these flying creatures, well, they add up. At the minute, it's just 4 damage getting turned sideways. Next turn, it's 6. Potentially after that, it could be 8. And after that, it could just be GG's.
Yeah, I think the small pressure given by Core Skyfisher is great. I think like Core Skyfisher is probably one of the most played card in Pauper, and is here to stay. It's probably it's incredible. Each time we gather here to play the PauperGeddon, and Skyfisher is always there.
Always
It's
here.
Probably one of the best flyers in the format.
Better than Squadron Hawk?
I think so, yeah.
Ooh. People are going to come after you for that one. People love the Hawks.
I love the Hawk too, but like Skyfisher is just great.
All right, chat asking, what do you think of Rumble when you are also playing Dispute, Wildfire, and many targets it can't hit?
I changed personally the list a bit to play more permanents, but I think Rumble is just great because creating Eldrazi means you already have part of the combo set up. And I play also the Dispute that gets flashback from the graveyard. So having stuff in the graveyard is great because I also play Blood Fountain, etc. So it makes sense for me. I think Turn to Rumble is great. The card is one of the best card printed for Pauper in MH3.
Sweet. Well, we see that the Eldrazi spawn token was sacrificed to generate the 1 mana. That 1 mana was used to then throw the Ichor Willspring at the flyer on the left hand side. This, which means obviously it's got 3 toughness, so 1 damage on the stack for it right now. So we must have a plan going forward in this turn. We're going to look at the top 4 cards, put one of these permanents into our hand. If we hit a permanent, right now we're 0-2, 3-0. Okay, we just got there, and that's the combo piece we're actually trying to find, right? Like that's step 1.
I'm not sure. I think it still needs the statistically.
Say that one more time.
It needs sadistically the enchantment that allows them to go.
So that's the last part of the combo we're looking for now.
Yeah.
Also, the jig is up. You know, I mean, we are in game 2. They might not have seen it. They might just thought this was some sort of interfere list. But here comes Dragon's Breath. 2 damage to all creatures that are non-dragons, and that is why we saw that 1 point of damage on the stack to be able to take them all down. That is a complete one-sided sweeper. Great to see that.
Yeah, it was a smart choice actually.
Favorite Inspector off the top from the synthesizer. We're going to play that. Clue is going to be generated. And we're already turning and burning, building this deck, building our board back up, generating more cards. This synthesizer deck just does not take its foot off the pedal.
Yeah. Like each time you flip a card, that throws a card, that flip a card, that bounce a card, that throws a card. Like it's a continuously flow of cards.
That's one of the new ones from MH3, right? We return type creature from our graveyard. We generate energy, and then we can use that to return the card from our graveyard. It also has cycling for 2, but we're going to return the synthesizer back to our hand, of course, generate a little bit more value. So now the 2/3's back on the battlefield because the synthesizer left. We flipped a land over the top. We can play that for the turn. We're going to replay the synthesizer, hit another land on the top.
Yeah, like it's incredible how much value this deck can generate. And I think like playtesting with people like Boros is not the first deck it comes to your mind because, of course, we see Affinity, we see Ponza, we see the combo decks. But each time we see a lot of Boros. I think Italians love to play Boros. And in general, it's just a good mid-range deck that can always be a nice choice for a tournament.
What would you say is a good deck against these Boros decks? Asking for a friend for PauperGeddon 2025.
I think every deck has legs versus this deck.
Okay.
But like similarly to any mid-range deck in Pauper, you have the good tools to fight every matchup because, of course, you play artifact removals from the sideboard. You play creatures to deal with pawns, so you play flyers, etc. I think maybe, I'm not sure how this deck is positioned versus like a Chrysalis deck, because I think a big creature with reach. But of course, you can flood the board and at some point throw some Galvanics at them and kill them. So I don't know. I think it's a good deck with like all the matchups are 46%. You know the meme.
the classic Jund.
Yeah, the classic Jund.
Right, well, we've got a mana floating here from the start. Now an extra 3 mana. So this is 4, and here, well, you speak about it. Here it comes. This isn't the only deck that we see it in this Ponzo. We're going to see it here now. So we've now got 3 Eldrazi Sirens, I believe, even though that counter said that.
I think it's 2 because 1 was sacrificed.
Oh, well, we just left it on the battlefield shortcut. Okay, got you. But making my life hard in the booth.
Munition plus Chrysalis is funny because you can sacrifice your Eldrazi and the creature gets buffed. So
yeah, well, that's half the reason why we see this card. It's got so many effects that is part of. Also, sneaking into the land base there is one of the new fetch lands from MH3, one of the new cycle ones, which is cool. So it's good to see. Are we calling this? Look, are we calling this like Glee combo here? Because at the minute it just looks like Jund Eldrazi.
Yeah. That's why I love the deck, because you don't play let's say cringe creatures. So you don't play once. For 1 mana that does something only where you're winning, but you just play like makeshift munition. That is a good card to have in even in mid-range scenarios, because you play artifact lands, because you play the Icors. So it's a quite nice deck. I am the guy who made the One Ring in Yawgmoth. So you know how much I like mid-range decks that at some point combos off, rather than combo decks that have a mid-range plan.
Galvanic Blast on the stack, 2 damage. No, actually 4 damage at this point. There's so many artifacts on the battlefield. 4 damage. Do we want to, or even can we do anything? We can sack a Scion to just use it to do 1 point of damage here.
I think it's like you don't have much to do. Probably it's fine. You end up with the same scenarios. So I think you rather have 1 more blocker.
Well, if there was a second Galvanic Blast, if we got Galvanic Blast in response to the first one being sacked, we can actually get the Chrysalis off the battlefield as well. But looks like we're going to have a Journey to Nowhere. So it is going to be going bye-bye no matter what on the stack. Journey to Nowhere, great. Like 2 mana kind of O-ring, only targets creatures. There's but saying that, there is a couple of main deck enchantment hate cards floating around now in Thraben's Charm.
Thraben's Charm, yes.
We've definitely seen an uptick of that card so far this weekend. Because, having a common that's got 3 different effects to it, and all of them can be pretty relevant in this format: exile a graveyard, destroy target enchantment, or do double the amount of damage to the amount of creatures that you've got to a creature. So, in this instance, it would be 6 damage. Now it would only be 4 damage. And
you saw this move. So basically, Mancinelli sacrificed the board. So since Journey to Nowhere needs to target something, he has to target his own Thraben Inspector.
That's cool. Bit of a heads up play there. Maybe I don't know if that was worth it in the long run, but it looks cool on camera. Having to make your opponent, okay, well, you think you're gonna get rid of my creatures? No. I'm gonna make you do it on one of your creatures. Get it out from underneath. But we can just bounce back that journey if we need to. We've got many ways of bouncing it.
Of course.
And when it ETBs, will generate another clue. And currently we've got 3 of them on the battlefield. So of course we can turn them into cards the later the game gets, if we do get into that late game and we need some more resources into our hand. Right now this Glee combo deck is not going super well. Like it feels like we're holding on to, we're clutching at straws currently. No board presence. Smaller hand than our opponent. The only thing we've got going on is we've got a way to basically shoot down some of these creatures, but all these creatures have got 2 or 3 toughness, so it's going to cost us 2 or 3 permanents to get them off, which isn't exactly what we want to be doing.
Yeah, I think probably this is the worst matchup of the deck, because your opponent either plays small creatures that deals damage in the early game. They play an amount of removal spells in forms of bolt, and they play also, actually, let the bolts at some point kill you. So, yeah. And also they play, other removals, and a really good way to chain cards. So it's quite a nightmare matchup for you.
Well, yeah, I remember this matchup as well is where we had that one-side sweeper. That Dragon Breath did come down. This is the same game where that happened, where we was literally completed one-side sweeper, leaving the Boris Synthesizer side with no creatures, basically just lands on the battlefield, but yet still able to come back, still able to generate this amount of value. Really shows the strength of this deck. Shout out to Fire Shoes. Hope you're good. So here comes Synthesizer, bouncing the back, revealing another land. Has the Synthesizer not hit a land at this point? It feels like that's all it's revealed. Every single time we've seen the ETB all get, being played, every card that's been flipped is basically a land that we've seen on camera. But this time we are sacrificing it, generating a 2/2 Samurai with Vigilance, getting in there for 2 in the air. No creatures with reach on the other side. Now we're starting to drop that life total down. Look, 7 life. That is 2 Galvanic Blasts away from GG.
Yeah, I think Mancinelli really needs to hit something here.
What is that something?
Probably, I would start with Dispute and then Duress plus the combo. Well, something like that.
Here comes another Cast and Fire. That is going to be pointed at the Blood Fountain. Obviously, exile target artifact is the mode being chosen.
I'm curious if Mancinelli is trying to make the Glicombo deck mana busy.
As in get them to fully tap out so then you can deal with the creature on the battlefield so there's no like deadly disputes or any sort of protection spell up for it. I got you.
Yeah, also remember that the Basking Brood Scale can grow itself.
There
so
it comes.
Sometimes it's tough to kill it.
Organizing our mana. Swamp is going to sacrifice his blood token straight away so we get to discard a card, draw a card. We're going to discard a land, get a fresh look at that top card. Don't get a good look at what it is. How do we win with the combo while our opponent's got 2 blockers, though? This is the bit I'm not understanding right now. Okay, having also another creature with reach.
So basically, the combo works this way. You make an infinite amount of colorless mana. Then you make an Eldrazi. You sacrifice it with munition. The Basking Brood Scale triggers.
Oh, okay, I got you. So you make 1,000 and then you make like a second 1,000, and those second 1,000 are the ones that you fling because you got 1,000 from the first mana. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, got
so
you.
You actually don't get infinite tokens, but you just get 1 token that you sacrifice and it creates itself.
Got you.
Also, like the Chrysalis was a good draw here because
Very
it completely stop the board. And I mean, I don't think you can outsize Boros at this point.
Well, we can just do this, right? We can play this, bounce back the Journey to Nowhere, play the Journey to Nowhere, get the Chrysalis off the battlefield. That's the creature with reach that we really care about. But then, is that just a trap at this point? Are we worrying too much about the Chrysalis, where we should really be, trying to prevent the combo from coming down next turn?
I mean, it depends on how many cards the Mancinelli has in hand. I think if it's just 1, it's fine. I think I would try to push Lethal here at this point. If he has, of course, another Galvanic Blast or something.
Oh, yeah. If we got a Galvanic Blast, yeah, I fully like that line because we're only 1 point away from lethal at that point. Let's have a little look, see what happens. Players in the tank. Of course, 3-0. 7 rounds of Magic today. We're in round number 4. Just about 4 minutes left on the clock. We'll be coming back tomorrow as well, if everyone's just tuning in now. Obviously, this is a 2-day GP-style event. Back in the day, GPs, you have to be able to get a good enough record to be qualified for day number 2. Well, in this tournament, we need X and 2 records. As we see Fraven Charm being cast as a removal spell. This is the one from MH3, kind of a draft all-star and looking a bit like a Pauper all-star here. And it is going to be targeting the Chrysalis. Of course, it does 2 damage for each creature. So because we've got 3 creatures, or 5 creatures, it would be 10 damage going on the stack. We're going to sacrifice it in response, do a point of damage. But we didn't go upstairs with it. We just put it on one of the flyers here.
A second journey.
Now here's the journey.
Yeah.
Are we going to sacrifice our whole board here again?
Yeah, I think the first damage with the Chrysalis was pointed on the Skyfisher.
Yep. So if we sacrifice a second one, and then we sacrifice the last tokens to do a bit more damage.
Mana,
and we're doing that same song and dance that we did last time, where we're going to make it so this journey actually has to target one of our own creatures.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. This is what's nuts so far. I would looking at this board today, you still see the Boris synthesized decks in the controlling seat, right? Your opponent's at 7 life, no creatures on the battlefield. You've got a board, you've got all these lands. We've already been one-sided raft. We've had a Dragon's Breath come down and completely deal with one side of the board. We've had 2 Jane Noes being cast, which in response have had to target our own creatures, and yet we're still in a controlling position of this game.
Wait. Can we see it? Do they have the statistically?
Are they completely tapped out? Is this the turn?
Yes.
Nope, just having to pass the turn back. Still don't have it. 5 life on the other side, but we do have 2 blockers. Nothing with reaches on the battlefield, so we are at a 3 potentially. Obviously, there is a ways to be able to shoot down some of these creatures. Will cost us creatures or will cost us artifacts. We started today with like 556 players battling out over this 2-day event. Yesterday we had 124 battling out in the Pauper Top Player Tournament, and then we had about another 124 in the backup tournament we had yesterday. So around about 250 players battling out yesterday. 700 odd round this weekend because there's a huge amount of side events happening. There's a side event for special beer that's been brewed for PauperGeddon. There's the food festivals. And then there's MH3 drafts firing off left, right, and center. All the vendors here, all the artists are here. It's absolutely a great weekend. This is the one Magic event which feels most like the Gathering to me because it is a tournament for the players by the players, and it's everything you would want here. There's no like extravagant cost. There's no like, oh, okay, you've got to have the venue's food, which is inflated. There's just a load of food trucks outside. You can go help yourself to them, and they're just like that is their business. They haven't inflated the prices. You can really kind of just enjoy yourself and have this as a really cool weekend away or a mini holiday playing your favorite format surrounded by amazing people.
Yeah, also like the venue. We upgraded the venue. Great. Like it's great. It's very big. There is air conditioning. There is the Wi-Fi, and it seems like a very professional tournament. I really enjoy to be a part of it.
Having air conditioning is huge for Big Will over here. Like I am so happy when I walked in. There was air conditioning because it was a bit humid over the last couple of days. I was like, oh my word, I'm going to be extremely hot over this weekend. Nope, this air conditioning paying dividends to me. So the battlefield's clearing itself up a little bit here. Okay, we've done a little bit of sacking, a little bit of blocking, a little bit of creature removal. By the end, everything's done and dusted. Though, and now just to okay. Don't worry about that. At 4 life, we draw away to be able to finish that last 4 damage off, just throwing it all to the face. So we can see Boris Synthesizer taking this game down and advancing to a 4-0 record. Only 1 win away from being able to get into day number 2.
Yeah.
Be absolutely cool and huge. Right, let's get back to the booth. How long is left of the round, please, producer? They're going to have a little look for me while we set that up, and we'll come back to the booth. Okay, I'm being told the round's ended. Right, let's get back to the booth and let's get set up ready for round number 5. So that was we saw 2 really good games there. One extremely quick game. It didn't even look like a game. It was crazy. We saw the power of Affinity there, but both sides of the Affinity deck just being able to have like that meta game call of playing some of your sideboard cards in your main deck and having them come absolutely back-breaking in that matchup felt really, really good. And then that matchup there, unfortunately, your deck didn't get there, but again, it looked really rough for that matchup. Like they tried it, they swept the board, they did what they needed to, where counteract certain spells, but yet still weren't able to get the line. And the longer the game goes, eventually your opponent's going to draw the card they need, and they're just going to win out of nowhere, like we saw there. So interesting stuff. I love it. I love this Pauper format. It's so much fun. Still, no copies of Poison Storm doing well. There is one more hero in the room, but
I think the deck is actually decent.
I love the deck. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always going to be biased, so let's be honest. I'm going to go see how there is one person in the room playing Pauper Storm. I'll find out what their record is for next time they come back. So we're going to see us in round number 6, so don't go anywhere.